Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show. Alright, the Pork and Knuckle Show.
That was quick.
That was so quick. Fine.
Oh yeah, we're not doing food anymore,
Okay, fine. Mad Max Fact Battle, you go first, Porky. Hit me.
That is more like Mad Knuckles.
Is that your first joke?
I'm gonna literally hit you if you do this ever again.
The fact battle!
My first fact is that critics complained about the level of violence in the film, which made it rated 18 in many different countries, but George Miller estimates that there are only 50 frames, which is a bit more than 2 seconds of explicit violence in the film, and all the rest is only implied.
Okay.
Which I find fascinating. It's not a violent film. It's now rated 16 in Germany.
Oh my god.
But it was on the index of bad for youth movies for quite a long time, actually.
Not so interesting fact. My fact, Fury Road was actually not written as a conventional movie. It was written as a comic book. And they made, They made transitions and they made panels of comic book style storyboards. And that's how they made the movie. So it's not a conventional movie, it's a comic book.
Storyboards usually are drawn. But okay, I have another fact that will relate to you as soon as we get done filming, because there was a character called Johnny the Boy, played by Tim Burns, who was so into character that he annoyed everyone on set. People hated this dude. So this was the guy that Mad Max handcuffs to the car when he sets up the explosion, which is, by the way, a scene that is basically taken from a Watchmen comic book where something similar happens. But one day, after Mel Gibson handcuffed him to the truck, everyone else just left for lunch and left him there, handcuffed to the car.
That's gave me some chuckles. Good fact, good fact. Snake wranglers were hired to keep the set and the crew safe because Namibia desert, and okay, temperatures reach 100 degrees and it's an old desert. So yeah, snake wranglers. There you go.
Cool thing. Other thing is, my next fact is, this tanker roll stunt at the end of the car chase in the second movie was deemed so dangerous that the stuntman who had to perform this stunt was forbidden to eat 12 hours before performing the stunt, just so that he can be rushed into the emergency room and being operated on without the choking hazard from puking. So he was refused food because they said, oh, you're most likely going to end up in surgery. Have fun doing the stunt, dude.
Speaking of stuntmans, the team from Beijing Olympics was hired to do the stunts because they were so hard and they had to be perfected. It wasn't a stuntman as in a stuntman specialist for movies. They had to get Olympians and athletes to do these stunts.
Yeah. By the way, most of the extras in Mad Max 1 were paid in beer.
Yes, they were. Cases of beer. Yeah, this is the Austrian way of doing things. Yeah. Speaking of which, the movie invented a new method of safely flipping cars. I think they had a contraption at the bottom, a metal contraption, and that meant the driver could control when the car flipped instead of random flipping the car, random flipping the car, random flipping the car. Fourth fact.
I wanted to hit you an old vinyl player. Okay, my best fact is Mel Gibson had a cool name for Vernon Wells in the second movie, and that was Barometer Bomb, because even though the film is set in the desert, and the desert we associated with being hot, it was sometimes so cold that the actors were freezing in blankets in between takes. And the thing that Mel Gibson used to know when it was time to give the crew some time to reheat themselves was the ass of Vernon Wells, because that cheeks turned some pinkish color, and this is why he called him Barometer Bum, because this was his measurement of when it's time to go inside. And might I add that a barometer is something that measures air pressure and has nothing in the least to do with temperature. So this is cool and stupid at the same time. Unlike you, you're only stupid.
Excellent news. Last fact. So, when they invented this new car contraption flipping thing, the first time they tried it, the car rotated 8.5 times. if they would have recorded this would have been a world record at the time. But they didn't record it. Even though it's a film said they should record pretty much every test. They did not record a world record, and that's it. Yeah.
Maybe that's because the film was made so on the cheap that they had to save on
Everything.
film stock, because film stock at the time was not
expensive.
that cheap. Because I think even the first film was the first Australian
16
film ever to use an anamorphic widescreen lens in 35 millimeters, which they got off the set of I forgot the movie that they got it from.
Chickens Fly.
I think it was a Sam Peckinpah movie where they got the lens from. It's called Getaway from 1972, and they got the lens, which was discarded because it was kind of destroyed. I'm going to stop now. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Take care. See you next week.
Yes! Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show, where today we will sink our teeth into the Mad Max franchise. This is Mad Knuckles, I am Mad Porky, and we're gonna start off with Mad Max 1. You know, the film that Mel Gibson made when people didn't even show his name in the adverts because people didn't really know him, unlike now when people do not show Mel Gibson's name in the adverts because people do know who he is.
Yeah, that movie was made in 1979. It should have stayed in 1979. I'm not joking. It's a complete travesty. I think it's a terrible movie. What is going on for the first 40 minutes? There's no dialogue in the movie. It's like, and there's random eagles flying around. Right, what's going on here? My God. Mad Max 2 was so much better than Mad Max 1. Like, by miles, it was so much better. But Mad Max 3 had by far the best intro out of all three of them. I loved it. It was so cool. I know they wanted to put the medieval setting into Mad Max 2, blah blah blah, but still, Mad Max 1 was a travesty. 2 was really, really good. Recommend it, watch it, superb. 3 drags on. Come on. Just watch the intro and you'll be fine.
I'm going to cry now.
Yeah, excellent.
I mean, I agree with some things. I agree with some things that you did. I mean, Mad Max 1, by the way, was set in a post-apocalyptic future only for budgetary constraints because they had, I think...
They couldn't pay for the buildings and the set and everything.
The car they built cost $35,000, which is 3.5 times as much as Mel Gibson made. He was paid $10,000 at the time. They did not have the money to properly maintain buildings. They did not have money to hire a lot of extras, which is why everything is so deserted, even though Mad Max 2 is the one that then goes full post-apocalyptic future. But what I liked about the first movie, other than it drags on for quite a while, it kind of reminded me, speaking of Sam Peckinpah, a bit of his masterpiece Straw Dogs with Dustin Hoffman, where a group of people is in this outlandish, this cabin, and being invaded by this group of insane people who went to rape and kill them. And in Mad Max,
every horror movie.
This is like a setup for the second act of the movie, and I think what the movie does not accomplish as well is to get you into the tension. And this is what the second one perfected.
I loved it. The biker gangs, it was so cool. It was like, yeah, we're really getting into this. Of course, trying to save the oil tanker, because second one was pretty much a resemblance of the oil crisis of the 70s. So this is why, okay, oil is so sacred, holy oil. But yeah, second one, very good. Loved it. They nailed the biker gang. The chase scene was so good.
It took 12 minutes! And what is even more surprising, that for Mad Max 2, they shot the film in sequence, which is something that you do not do with an action movie. That you shoot it in the order that you see it.
It was very good. Third one wasn't. What is this?
The question is, I mean, the first one made $100 million at the time, which was then a Guinness World Record. They had a Guinness World Record for the highest grossing independently made film until 1999, where it was demolished by The Abomination, the cinematic crime called Blair Witch Project. One of the worst disgraces and
isn't
wastes of film
Paranormal
ever.
Activity the most now? Like, since it got released, because it was an independent film made on like a 30 grand budget.
I don't know what's
Same
currently,
as much as a car
what's
in
currently
Mad Max.
holding this. But also, when we go back to the first one, did you know that a lot of the stunt driving that they did, generally the car scenes were illegal because they didn't have money or time to get filming permits. So when you watch... When you watch the first scene in the movie, you see an actor on a bridge doing a phone call, and he looks like he's in a hurry, which is not the actor acting, but the actor being in a hurry because they didn't have a permit to film there, and they were currently on always on the lookout for the police. But the police then got wind of the production and started helping them, closing roads.
That's quite cool.
Supporting them beforehand. They had to close
and nowadays
the
they'll
roads
shut it
themselves.
down. They'll be like, shut it down. Where's your permit? But yeah, back then.
The thing is,
cool.
you know that there is this get out of jail free card that
We're not
George
playing Monopoly, but okay.
no, that Goose gives the Triker in the film. That was an on-set joke because since the production was so limited, everyone who played the vigilantes and the gangsters had to ride their own motorcycles and their own gear. So in order to not get stopped by the police and arrested for looking like gangsters, they had this card where they say, "I'm with a movie production, please let me go," which I find
Didn't they
amazing.
hire proper gangs, like ex-biker gangs, to film it because, well, they didn't have budgets, and what, they were paid in beer.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was like, and of course, which biker gang will not agree to this? So that's it. I think we've covered the 3 Mad Maxes.
No, I think
Oh, God.
we still,
What, he's still
have
ranting.
to talk about the third one.
No, we don't.
Because
Please don't talk.
This is such a disgrace. I mean, I know
What
that
is this time travel? Why did they put that in? Why is he riding a horse? What is going on? Like, it's a horrendous movie.
Really,
horrendous.
that's what disturbed you
That's
the
what
most.
disturbed me. Why is he riding a horse?
I know that it wasn't originally a Mad Max film. It was planned as some kind of post-apocalyptic Lord of the Flies movie with the children. But I don't know what it is with children that just makes me want to hate them so much.
Because he's a teacher and he sees them every day.
No, kids in films usually drag the plot, and these kids do not contribute anything of value to the film. They just slow it down. This
Tina Turner, the jazz lady, wasn't it?
comedy.
God, yeah, what's going on there?
No, the pseudo-comedic effect with Mad Max and the children, first being scared by the children, then this dome wrestling scene, which would have been cool, but it's just overshadowed by how fake and strange everything looks. I mean, Fury Road perfected the strangeness, but this was just an atrocity. Given the fact that Tina Turner had to shave her head just to put on the wig, and she gladly did that. Did she read the script? This movie wouldn't have even be worth to put on shoes for this role. Holy hell.
We should stop talking.
The only thing that's redeemable about this film is the poster by Richard Ansel, which I really love.
That's how good a movie is. The poster is better than the movie.
Yeah.
Excellent news.
Yeah, never reference a better movie in the middle of a crap movie.
It's just like, yeah.
It's bad when it comes to posters of your own movie. But yeah, I think we have now covered a lot about the Mad Max franchise, and we will see you guys again next week for the next episode when we try to put Fury Road in there and see whether Fury Road is better than the original ones. See you guys next time.
Take care! Hello, and welcome to the Poker Knuckle Show! Right.
You on drugs today?
What we're gonna do is... Which Mad Max is better? Fury Road or Mad Max 2?
Why did we choose Mad Max 2?
It's better than Mad Max 1.
Yes, and what we also decided is that the Road Warrior has many things in common with the Fury Road. Fury Road is basically more like a reboot of the second one rather than the first one.
Sure.
They both have the Gastown Run as their main.
Yeah, this is so the five things. Special effects, considering the time. We will look at the chase scene. We will look at who is the better Max. We will look at the villain, and we will look at the storyline. All right, let's start with special effects.
We start with the special effects. Well, for me, it's always difficult to think about special effects when comparing an old film to a new film. But what I like is that George Miller, for both movies, decided to use as little CGI as possible. Even with Fury Road, there is only like CGI expansions of the desert or something.
Sure.
Everything in the car chase and so on is done in real. But the thing is, there is so much more experience, so much more practice in cinematography from this movie to this one, which kind of puts it into perspective that, of course, this chase scene is so much bigger,
but I like this chase scene
much
more.
better than the one in Mad Max 2. But in the end, when it comes to what fascinates you, is even though this is a fascinating effort and achievement of how they made it with this scale, it's not as fascinating as having done a slightly smaller version of this in the 80s. So my point goes to Mad Max 2.
I think I'll have to agree with you on this, because special effects, I mean, we're not looking at green screens now. I mean, we have to expand it. But if you look at the makeup, the cars, the blood transfusion scenes going on there, even though this is a more entertaining movie because we are from this time, my point also goes with this.
Yeah.
My point goes with this. So both of us have special effects as the old one.
Good.
Okay.
What's next?
The chase scene. The chase scene, man.
Didn't we just do that?
No, we gotta get... I tell you, the chase scene is mental in this one.
Yeah.
When they, like, exploding fire-breathing guitars, and they have, like, this massive stage subwoofer thing on the chase scene. Slightly mental, slightly mad, haha. But I like this chase scene more. I love it when they're flying off poles. This is so cool. So cool. I know Tom Hardy, because when he was on the floor, just above the floor, when the car was firing away, the wires, Charlize Theron. She was worried that the wires were too thin and Hardy's head could actually come and hit the floor and he could be decapitated. And
that would be a short film.
And even Hardy's son asked the director, and the director said, it is what it is.
that is reassuring. That's
very reassuring.
That's just as reassuring as being told, "Oh, you're going to do a stunt today. Don't eat because you might
end up
have surgery."
But my point goes to them. This is a very well thought out chase scene, and I loved it. It was so mental. This is in a time, like you said, this is in a time where there is more experience in chase scenes. So it's easier to film this. This was creativity. Definitely chase scene for me goes in there.
And the thing is, with this chase scene, I like it when directors are creative, but I don't like it when creativeness turns into stupidity.
Yeah.
And when you are in a dystopian, post-apocalyptic future where you do a gas run and have to send a convoy to get a little bit of fuel, burning it out of a guitar with subwoofers that take a load of energy is just stupid. So this is something that kind of pulls me off of this, because I always like the thought, why are they doing what they're doing? And this one is much more down to earth. The people who want the fuel and the people who live next to the fuel, they all have good motivation. And even though this has a grander scale, this one just fascinated me more. So second point. Basically, the chase scene just got this film 2 points.
Definitely. Storyline. I like this blood transfusion thing that they incorporated in this, actually.
Yes.
That was kind of cool. I'm like, okay, fine, they're getting energy out of a different way. This was cool. I liked it. That's it. I like this because of that particular blood transfusion scene. Straight up, my point goes to them. That's it. Short and simple, my point goes to them.
It's a hard thing to say, because the storyline of Mad Max 2 is very simplistic. They are the people who have fuel, the people who want fuel. Clash of Clans in that regard. But this is a much more down-to-earth, basic storyline, which is what I love about movies from the 80s. It's more like, there is Arnie, there is a gun, movie is done. But the thing is, what you said, Mad Max Fury Road, took basically the same concept and crammed so much more depth, so much more
symbolism behind it.
Character definition, so much more symbolism, so much more interesting background into this same scenario that I also have to say, I'll give this point to Fury Road.
Beans on cool.
This is the third point that we're giving to the same film.
No, we're not. This is...
No, 1 and 2, but we are agreeing, which I hate.
The better Max.
Oh, we're not going to agree on this one.
Tom Hardy. Hands down, Tom Hardy. Yes, I have a bias with Tom Hardy, but...
What's your bias with Tom Hardy?
He's just cool, man. Where did I see him?
Okay, that's the bias.
Where did I see him? In... Oh, what's that series? Peaky Blinders. When he played Solomon. But different. Tom Hardy plays this role and he nails it. He really, really nails it, and it's just so good. The action, the depth of Tom Hardy speaking. This is, yeah, much better. I'm sorry, but the acting could have been better. I know it's Mel Gibson. You can't go around the Holy Grail, but I think Mad Max 2 acting should have improved a little bit. Mad Max Fury, even though the problem is, Mad Max Fury, we already know the storyline, we already know the character. So for Tom Hardy to reinvent the character is the hard part, and he did it very well. Tom Hardy nailed it.
You know, the thing is, when you have a franchise, the character has a face. So for instance, if you now say, we're doing a remake of Ace Ventura, which is one of my first love films that I had in my childhood, it's like, no! This is Jim Carrey. You cannot replace and improve on Jim freaking Carrey. So when you hear Mad Max, you see the face of Mel Gibson, and it's so hard not to just not doing justice to this, but to maybe even surprise audiences with your take on it that is just better. And Mel Gibson, in the second movie, he said 16 lines in total, and 2 of those lines were, I only came for the gasoline. I mean, of course, Tom Hardy isn't like a poet in the Fury Road as well, but I think he has the much more defined, much more interesting rendition of Max. So
it was very hard for him, because Mel Gibson is a legend. He's already established himself by the time this comes out, and it's so hard to remake a legend's role, but he did it. This is why my point is with him.
I still hate Mel Gibson, but I sometimes find him cool when he plays the villain in Boss Level or The Expendables 3, but of course, I wouldn't take these movies away, but the thing is, what I think soiled the reputation of Mel Gibson as Mad Max is the third one.
Yeah,
this kind of destroyed his credibility. So I'm going with Tom Hardy as well.
We're agreeing 2-2. Villains.
It's 2-2. Oh my God!
Villains.
Barometer Bum versus Immortan Joe.
Oh my God! I mean,
Barometer Bum. What the hell?
My point will have to go to... Was Tina Turner in the second one?
No, she was in the third
one. Then, straight up Mad Max. So much better. The villain, the acting...
Which Mad Max? You just said...
The Fury Road!
The Fury Road! You just said... My point goes to Mad Max. Oh, really?
Yeah. Playing it diplomatic. No, definitely. I quite like the role of the villain there. I think it was much more in-depth, had a bigger role to play in the outcome of the movie. And again, because it's following a franchise, it's very difficult to follow a successful franchise, but they put a good twist on it. I think this was... We're going to come to the conclusion, but so far, this is going to be better than this, and the villain is much better. Much better. I quite liked it. I like the depth. I like the little guy trying to control the trade. It was just, okay, fine, villainally, ooh. But I liked it. I liked Mad Max Fury villain.
The thing is, I really love the villain of Mad Max 2 because he was so over the top with his hair and with his henchmen.
He had a cult following.
I love the way that he dies. You know, these 5 frames of his eyes just poking out of his head, and I think the death of the villain.
No, I changed my mind. I changed my mind. Old. I just remember the death scene. I'm like, yeah, you can't beat that.
And I think the death scene is one of the most important things of the villain.
And it was a great cinematic scene.
It was such a great scene. And it had this impact. But the thing is, when you look at how the villain goes, for me, it's just as important as how the villain comes in. So when you look at Mad Max Fury Road and you see this disgusting, scrumpy, gritty little creature back, and then they're putting this glass thing on top of him, and this is like next level villain look. And how he gives the people the water. Then just shuts it off after 2 seconds, like, don't get addicted to water, ha ha ha. That's like saying, don't get addicted to air, you jerk.
But the death scene, you remind me of that.
I say the death scene of this villain is much better. This is a pure 80s action movie, perfect villain, but the much more interesting characters in Fury Road.
So I'm going to give my...
I am going to go with Fury Road, which means for me...
You have 3 points for the Fury.
That Fury Road wins.
But for me, just because of the death scene of the villain, Mad Max wins.
2 wins.
Mad Max 2 wins.
Which is surprising because I love the second film.
I loved it. I really loved both of them. Actually, scrap everything else. Just watch 2 of them.
They're basically on par. But you know, this is exactly why I love doing these film fights.
I like this, but this, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. This makes you rethink.
It's a draw. It's a draw. Tell us what you think. It's a draw.
Drop your comments in the comment section below. What is your personal favorite? Or do you maybe want to select the first one or the third? Give us your opinion in the comment section below. Just say thank you for watching the video, and we'll see you guys again next week for the next episode of the Pork and Knuckles Show.
Take care.
Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckles Show, where we take a look at very post-apocalyptic dystopian visions, and today we're talking about your hairstyle.
Excellent news.
This is terrible. No, we're talking about the film Doomsday, made by a very cool director named Neil Marshall, who you might know as the director of Dog Soldiers, which is an all-time cult classic, made for the cheap but very successful and very cool to watch. And what I like when I start with this is that Neil Marshall likes to work with actor Sean Pertwee, and he likes to kill him. And especially, he likes to set him on fire. And what I find most interesting about this is there are similarities between Pertwee's death in Dog Soldiers and in Doomsday. And Neil Marshall told me himself that the Pertwee death in Doomsday is the favorite way of killing Sean Pertwee that he did before. And he even said that when he wants to cast Sean in one of his movies, he calls him and says, "Hey Sean, I would like to kill you again," which I find fascinating.
Great, sign me up. Very topical movie. You know, you got this coronavirus pandemic going on.
Exactly.
And, it's exaggerated massively. Political conspiracy, of course. Conspiracies everywhere right now. It's okay. It's not a bad movie. It's not an amazing movie. But it's credible to watch. I would watch it. I would watch it once. And then I would put it on in the background second time. Which is the honest opinion I can give. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but I don't think it's a great movie either. I mean, quite cool that punks or the rebels eventually get the political man, so that's kind of cool.
Yes.
Don't start a revolution. Do not start a revolution yet.
What I also liked about this film is seeing Bob Hoskins again, who is a really cool actor, and it's always a blast to see Malcolm McDowell. Even if he plays a crap character in crap Rob Zombie's crap Halloween 2 crap. That was basically a line from Rob Zombie movie, but he is so amazing in this film. And what I also loved is this circus of anarchy roasting scene. This guy who basically comes on stage, jumps around, sings a song, kills a guy, then they eat him up.
Yeah, that's slightly mental what's going on there.
Which I think also captures the essence of Mad Max very good. It's more like Mad Neil when it comes to the ideas he has to kill off the people. But the thing is, do you think that this is a Mad Max ripoff, homage, thing?
Yes, because it's basically exaggerating what. So Mad Max 2 Oil Crisis, and they exaggerated this. Similar kind of thing, but I think this was done before Corona. Nevertheless,
yes, way
before. But it's exaggerating this pandemic kind of possibility. So it has similarities there. It has the punks, which has the similarities. It also has the knight on a horse, which in Mad Max 3, I'm just like, right, what's going on there? That is, I still want to know why.
If Neil Marshall
people were in there.
Yeah, if Neil Marshall put the horse people in this movie just to say, why were they in the third one? I don't know. Let's just put them in here and figure it out on the way.
This was like a plot twist. I don't know. Is there some kind of a secret symbolism going on? Why were men on horses shooting arrows at people with guns and winning? This is not... What's going on there? Please explain. What's going on there?
What I find most interesting, I selected this movie for the Mad Max month of this show, is that I found it on so many "this is a Mad Max ripoff" lists, and my first thought was, no, because this has much more political aspects, and what I like is the similarities between Doomsday and Mad Max only come in like 45 minutes into the movie when you start with this big on-stage roasting scene. That was, by the way, censored in Germany. This is the Austrian media book release that is an uncut version of the film, and the German release is cut, I think it was 3 minutes or something, of violence. I think this has a more interesting background, but it has a villain with Malcolm McDowell that does less than many other people and villains do in the Mad Max franchise. But I think the combination...
I think the twist, where I think I'm going to say I did not like the movie, is the eye as the camera. That just, I'm like, why are you throwing an eye? It's a bit obvious when you're walking around on the street and there's a random eye lying around. You're going to be intrigued by it. And kids might even kick it as a football or something, or squash it. I don't know. That eye bugged me.
The hide in plain sight mentality.
It's just like, hi, I have a camera, I'm recording you. Yeah. But I'm a secret agent, but I have a camera and I'm recording you. Like, what's going on here? I did not get it.
Yeah,
that eye bugging.
But you know what?
This
eye bugging thing reminds me of the situation we had in 2021 when people said, "No, I do not want Facebook to track my every move, so I'm going to delete it off of my iPhone."
Excellent. And on that note,
I have one more thing to say.
He still has one more thing.
What I love about Neil Marshall's work is that he incorporates so many little nudges to people that inspired him, and it's not only George Miller, but it's also John Carpenter, who made Escape from New York, which is also a huge influence on the of the movie. And he had soldiers named Miller and Carpenter. There are so many subtle camera angle references to these films, which you only notice when you are a movie geek and know these films by heart. So this is something where I say this is a very nice effort by Neil Marshall. It's a cool story. It does drag in some bits, but the violence effort, the anarchy effort is great. The actors are great to an extent.
Just take the eye out, take the horse out, good movie. That's it. That's it. Doomsday, Doom, like finished. We're done. All right.
Thank
you for watching.
See you next week.
Take care.
Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show, where we watch Kevin Costner fail in Waterworld. And now you can watch us fail, try to explain why Kevin Costner failed with Waterworld.
3-hour movie. Let me explain.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.
A man with gills is on a catamaran, goes around, sells some dirt.
I got a jar of dirt.
I got a jar of dirt, I'm rich, and then escapes with a woman and her child, stepchild, adopted child, I don't know what's going on there, with a tattoo, a very annoying tattoo.
Do you know that she's called Enola, which is just alone spelled backwards?
God. And then, and then
Yes.
he bumps into some pirates, let's call them smokers, and then they find land and live happily ever after. That saved you 3 hours. Thank you. Thank you. We will take payments on PayPal for this.
You know, the thing is, the Waterworld is always considered one of Hollywood's biggest box office bombs, which, to some extent, is not true. The film has made back its money, and it even turned in a profit to this day. The problem was that, first, Kevin Costner was an asshole on set, and while everyone else had to basically live in shacks, he demanded, like, a big hotel room. He did not get along with director Kevin Reynolds, even though he insisted on having Kevin Reynolds direct the movie, even though he didn't like to work with him on the last project they did together, which is kind of, yeah, exactly that. But the thing is, Waterworld gets so much flack that it does not deserve. This is a phenomenal action movie. Every single action scene, every single action shot is brilliant.
They shot in 3 hours.
They shot the whole movie on open water, to which they asked Steven Spielberg, after he made Jaws, on what he would recommend when they film on open water, and Steven Spielberg said, don't. Full stop.
Because they should have listened to him and not filmed this at all.
No, they should. They really should have listened to him, because what drove the budget through the roof was the fact that they had to build the biggest set 3 times because it was destroyed by a hurricane 2 times. Kevin Costner almost died while filming the movie because he was dragged under a boat. Some of his stuntmen were driven out into the open sea and had to be rescued. He was stuck on the mast when they were in high sail. I think even the main female actor almost drowned because she was pulled under the boat, and so on and so forth. This was a troubled production, but the problem is, it's a boring production.
It's a 3-hour long boring. I mean, I like the intro. I like all the cool gadgety things going on with the boat and how he's managing
stuff!
That's cool. But, my God, there's like, what, 5, 6, 7 action scenes, 3 hours?
Yeah, but you know what's worst is, the thing is, I watched the Ulysses cut, which is available on the Arrow Video Blu-ray, and then read a report of which scenes does this version feature that the theatrical version does not have. And it's like, okay,
sailing on water.
these 40 minutes that they added for the old American TV version are so much better than the content that was in the theatrical cut, because I liked many of these added scenes that showed how people distilled the water, how people live, how people interact. That was the most interesting part
of the whole movie.
But the problem is, it is just too long for what it is. Because right now, if you remember this film, the first and probably only thing that springs to your mind is, oh, that's the film where Kevin Costner drinks his own piss, right? And that is the first scene in the movie, so you can save yourself 3 hours by just turning it off after 2 minutes. But then, there comes my favorite dialogue in this film is when Dennis Hopper looks at something and says, it does look like shit. And the problem is, if you know that you have a stinker and a maybe unsuccessful film at your hand, please do not include a line of dialogue that is so easily being taken by every critic talking about your film ever.
I think on
Waterworld,
that note, I think this is it. This is it. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next week.
Still like the film.
Take care.